Criminals and Phantoms, and this week we're doing something different. We're doing something that touches home personally for me, but I know is beginning to touch home for a lot of other people throughout the United States and Canada as well. Um, Many of you may have heard about the East Palestine disaster. Now, myself and Landon are going to send out some links, and just bear with us here for a second as we do this. But I really do, I want to make sure that we have some people in here before I start, just going off and talking about what had happened. But we will be talking about a current event, which is something that isn't on brand for us. And I'm sorry for that. I know that this is definitely something that is different, and it's different for us. Landon was not prepared for this week.
Nope.
I had not. Normally, these guys find out what the show we're going to do is because I post it. That's normally where they find out. And this week, I messaged them both, and I said, "Listen, guys, this is very close to home for me, and this is the story I want to cover." So as we get some more people here, we're going to discuss this in detail. We appreciate you guys for stopping in. Landon, before it gets too depressing in here, did you have a good week up until now?
Yeah. It was an all right week. Getting on, seeing you so fired up has made the night interesting.
I know.
Is on one for everybody out there watching. Just be prepared. Tonight's going to be a crazy episode. Dylan is pumped up.
Well, here's the thing, and we'll talk more about it obviously as we get into the episode. And Landon, just for my sanity, can you check and make sure that we're actually like broadcasting places?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, uh, for those of you who have not heard, it is something that is now sort of getting national media coverage as of like the 13th. There was a massive chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine, Ohio is basically on the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. For those of you who've been watching the show for a long period of time, for those of you who know me, you know that this is the area where I live. Uh, I am I am very close to the action, as they say, and I couldn't not cover this. Like I couldn't come here this week and talk about a serial killer or some stupid shit like that, knowing that there's something so big happening in the world and there's so much misinformation. And this is something, Landon, you could potentially be affected by, and you have not heard about this.
Right. Yeah.
So
I know nothing, so I'm not going to say anything here. We're going to see.
so here's the thing, right? This whole fucking saga started way back on February 3rd, okay? So I've written out a timeline, my personal timeline that I'm going to go over with you guys. So February 3rd was a Friday, and it was at that point that this crash had taken place. I was home. I was approximately 17 miles away from East Palestine at the time of this crash. Um, and I had learned about it from all places, Snapchat. Snapchat is where I learned about this story. One of my friends had been driving by, and they had heard about it, and obviously they had tuned in to Snapchat, and they had taken a film. And so uh, I mean, pretty immediate to the derailment. Hey, Jay,
What's up, Jay?
Jay from the other week is here. Jay, we're glad to see you. So that's where I learned about this happened. I learned about it, from Snapchat of all places, but the day of. So at that point, right, we had no idea what was on board. We were at that point told that there may have been some chemicals, but there was also some food aboard. And this is a very interesting thing that has now really, like, Fox News is upset at that part of the story
Well,
because
this is
they're like,
aboard what? Aboard a train or a truck?
aboard a train,
Okay, train.
aboard a train. So there were 5 tankers carrying hazardous material along with several other tankers carrying like food.
Do you
There were 50 cars total.
so
5 of them were hazardous.
do you know what the chemicals are, or are they trying to keep that from people?
We do. We know what the main chemical is, so we'll get to that because
Okay.
it's very interesting, Landon. And I just want to say thank you, everyone who's dropping in the chat. Like I said, this is a different show, but this is very close to home. I go on to write, of course, at that time, we didn't know what we would learn later about the chemicals and the effects of exposure from vinyl chloride. This is what we use to make PVC. It is cancer causing, and it was used in World War I as a chemical of war. When burned, it creates phosgene and hydrogen chloride. This is what we've been breathing in and drinking and eating. Cancer causing chemicals.
It's in about everything, right?
Immediately, right? The cover up. Immediately they're saying, oh, it's not that bad. We
It's
had
just a
only
weather
learned.
balloon.
Yeah. So the balloon, by the way, this is the same day that the first balloon is spotted.
Okay, the first one.
So this
Okay.
is the Montana balloon is spotted,
This
right?
is the one that went all the way to South
Yeah,
Carolina
this
before they
no,
shot
no,
it.
no. Those were two different balloons. This
Okay.
balloon's now over like some area way south, some other country. So basically, right, this happened. This crash happens. And we don't learn until way later why it happened, how it happened, but we know that this is something that there was a railroad strike. Thank you, Lee, for joining in. Jay, once again, we appreciate you. Jay says craziness, So this fucking 1 second, this tattoo on my arm was a representation of home, and now this is my home. Responsible for chemicals and the fucking water supply. Well, what do I say to that? Anytime anyone in the future is going to ask me about my tattoo, what do I say? Ah, yeah, remember the disaster that happened? Ah, I was 17 minutes away. You
All
know?
right. So as we get into this, do we know why this crashed?
We know that there was a faulty. Well, I have it written down here at some point. I want to do it.
Okay.
I want to do it in time, and I'm not trying to keep you guys like waiting, but I want to show you guys how long it took them to give the locals information and
Right.
how even much longer it took them for this to become a national story. Please, guys, and we don't ever ask this. If you could like this, fucking share this around. This is a story that, like, if there's ever been anything that we've talked about that I think is important, it's this. We'd appreciate it a lot. So February 4th, right, is when it was reported that the US had shot down the Chinese spy balloon over Myrtle Beach. This is only a day after a similar balloon was spotted over Montana. At this point, the media coverage of the train was very scarce. Everybody seemed too focused on its real life game of balloon tower defense. February 5th. So mind you, we are now the crash happened on the 3rd. February 5th, there is still no cleanup happening. It is burning. And there will be videos. I will show you guys.
Oh,
I
good.
will show you guys some videos of the controlled explosion and explain what they did. And you can, I mean, if you Google this, guys, you'll find pictures that are just fucking horrifying.
What's the going name for this thing? This whole event? Do they have a
Uh,
name for this?
I'm calling it the Ohio chemical disaster. A lot of people are calling it the East Palestine chemical disaster.
Okay.
Something that conspiracy theorists are really big on right now. The political answer is crap. Yes, the regulations rolled out back. The company is solely responsible in my mind. We'll get to that. We
Lee,
will get to
uh,
that.
Lee is a professor in a college in my town.
Oh, fantastic.
Political science, I think, is what he teaches.
So we will 100% get to that. And Lee, if I say anything that you think is out of pocket, please feel free to, you're an educated person. I'm just a local. You probably know what the fuck you're talking about, So here's the deal, right? This whole deal, people were just living for several days with burning because no, I also haven't talked about evacuations yet.
Okay, so hold on. So let me just get this straight.
Hmm.
Train crashes.
Hmm.
You're saying so? Did the actual wreck cause this to catch fire,
No,
or you're talking about fire, but purposely put on fire?
no. So once
Okay,
again, I'm keeping you guys not in the blue.
well, you said it's burning, so I'm just trying to figure out how is it burning.
Ex- and see, and now you're thinking like, imagine the citizens' shock. Like, hey, there's a fucking burning train in my backyard.
Right.
Hey, it's getting into the water and killing fish. We'll get to this, right? February 5th, residents in the area would be evacuated or arrested. They were told that there was a risk of an explosion and the shrapnel could harm them. Realistically, they were only worried about reopening the railroad. So they had lied. And 100%, by the way, I'll use the word allegedly for legal reasons. This is where locals know we're being fucking lied to. They had said, "Hey, the biggest fear, right, is we want you guys out of there because if this explodes, the shrapnel can damage you and your houses." Realistically, they reopened the railroad. Now we'll get to the part about the controlled explosion. February 6th, this is Monday. So the initial crash happened on the 3rd. Here we are 3 and 4 days later. We're finally getting cleanup. They're finally communicating a little bit, and this story is still not getting any media coverage. After finishing my shift in Bessemer, 12 miles away from East Palestine, I received an advisory on my phone that read something to the effect of, quote, "This is a message from the Beaver County and reference to the train derailment in Columbiana County, Ohio. The recommended evacuation zone remains at 1 mile from the scene." Landon, they were afraid of shrapnel, but if you're within the mile, you're the only people that are in danger. Shrapnel goes fucking everywhere. But they're only evacuating you if you're within the mile.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, anything outside of a mile, you're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be a big ass explosion,
And
and I'm
that's what
sure
we
there's probably some sort of laws or rules on how far it has to be based on what it is. I don't
oh,
know.
just you wait, pal, because it's about to get hairy up in this bitch.
Okay.
So, sometime during February 6th, the 5th, in this area, or somewhere during February 6th, the 5 chemical-filled cars were released into the air and into a trench which would be lit ablaze. A black cloud was spotted from space. Would you like to see the video of the controlled explosion, Landon?
Okay. So, all right, we're jumping ahead a lot, but okay.
No, this isn't jumping ahead. This is we're day. We got the alert. Hey, you're within the mile. You have to get out.
Which is the day it happened, right?
Which is no. The accident had happened on the 3rd. We don't know until the 6th that they're telling people
Oh,
to get out.
3 days later.
3 days later, Landon,
Jesus. So you know nothing about it other than
we know nothing.
okay. Oh God, this looks crazy.
1 second. Sorry, guys, I'm not used to this kind of pressure pulling shit up. Show and stream. And there's the black.
Of course,
So
it's. I mean, when you burn plastic, it burns black, so it makes sense.
so
It's
what
a
was
plastic.
what was reported by Cleveland 19 is that chemical experts were sent in. They basically opened up the 5 toxic cars. They released the contents into the air and into a trench that they dug, and they lit it on fire. And that this black plume of smoke you could see from space, and they're saying that the water and the air are safe. Thoughts, Landon? Thoughts? Comments?
First
Thoughts?
off, that is some really black smoke. Like, holy crap, that is some black smoke.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is all homes. You know, this isn't like this is literally just people's fucking homes.
I'm I'm really confused because you know, I don't want to go too far into this because I want to
Mhm,
say something I shouldn't say. But when I was in the military, I did hazardous material transportation.
mhm,
Okay. So I had a lot of classes on how to dispose of, you know, hazardous materials in
mhm.
situations very similar to this. And that's not normal protocol at all.
Mm.
Just digging a trench and lighting it on fire like that. So I don't know. This is very interesting to me. I'm
That
curious
is
who made that call.
that is what was reported. So now we get into even a shadier area, right? So we just saw the controlled explosion took place on the 6th, right? February 9th, or sorry, February 8th. February 8th, the evacuation is lifted. It was determined that the air and water were safe. Oh, and Evan Lambert was arrested for reporting the news while Governor Mike DeWine was talking. Yes, there is a video of the arrest. Charges would later be dropped. Oh, and yes, the trains did continue traveling through the town.
While this is burning.
No, 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 no. They did the controlled explosion. They literally buried shit under the railroad,
Oh, they buried all this. Okay.
and then they put
That's
and
great.
then they allowed trains to go back on the same tracks. They rebuilt the stretch of the trains that were damaged within a day, and they allowed trains to run back through the town.
Yeah, and Jay's got a good point here. Why do a controlled explosion for this? Was there no other way to retrieve this material? And that's kind of where I was going with what I was saying. It's like there's other protocol that would require you to get that stuff out if possible. I mean, I don't
So,
know. Again, I'm not 100% sure familiar with this chemical, so
mhm.
there could be something specific with that that I'm not aware of.
Well, what we know about the chemical is that it killed people in World War One, and that it will more than likely continue to cause cancer. It will continue to kill the fish, the wildlife, which we'll get more into that too, because I have more videos. So, at this point, right, February 8th, it was determined. This is once again, national media has not covered this story at this point. We're told February 8th, go back to your houses, everything's safe, drink bottled water if you don't feel comfortable, but we believe that the air and the water are safe. From February 9th to the 13th, during this time, locals began noticing changes in health, changes in wildlife, and changes in the water. There were estimated, and this is an estimation from 4 days ago, so I'm sure the number has gone up, but as I could see, it was not reported officially, the number has gone up. There were reported 3,500 dead fish.
Oh, jeez.
Oily water and lack of birds were all reported, as were many symptoms of illness. On February 13th, CBS Pittsburgh shared a video taken about 20 miles before the derailment. The video was taken by a security camera, and you can see sparks and fire under one of the train cars. It was rolled out as a mechanical error due to a faulty axle. Can we take a guess who rolled it out as such?
The feds.
The train company.
Oh, yeah, they get to investigate
They
themselves.
get to
Almost
investigate
like the
themselves.
police do.
Norfolk Southern said, there's no problem here. Hey, this is just a freak accident. We're going to clean this up. And we're getting to the Fed part because man, is that the juiciest shit in this story, right? Jay in the chat says you would think that teams and teams of engineers and crews trained for cleanups of this size would be on site and putting thoughts into how to clean this stuff up. Yeah, you would think. You would think. So, February 13th would also be the first day the story gained national attention on a large scale. This, of course, is largely in part to TikTok, which at this point had covered most of the madness, right? So, it's at this point that I want to show you guys another video. This video here is of the water. So we're just gonna see what it looks like, and you guys can tell me if you would drink it.
Wow.
So you can see
It's all in the
what
bottom
they
of the
did
creek
is
bed.
they threw a rock to displace it. And this is like oil. It's like oil
There are
slick.
literally hundreds of dead fish, all coming from the one creek that's coming from the wreckage. That fish in this one is actually probably about a foot long, so it's not just the little ones. And then you see a bunch of little ones scattered around it. Little beaver runs into big beaver, runs through our state park, and there's dead fish everywhere.
Something that she didn't add, and she probably didn't know, is that this water also runs into the Ohio River, which runs into the Mississippi River, which quenches the thirst of about 10% of our nation. So this went from being an environmental issue in a small town in Ohio to people clear down south and north have been affected. We'll get more into that later. I will continue with the video.
I can't even begin to imagine the trickle effect we're going to have on the wildlife around here. And there you can see another dead fish, little minnow down in there.
Would you drink the water, Landon?
I think not. You know, I hadn't seen the fish and I hadn't seen the water part. Jerry was posting pictures of the birds though today, and he was going off about that. This parking lot's filled with dead birds.
Yep.
31 Democrats.
So that's what we're living on, and they're saying there. By the way, I will point out by name, Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio, who it was falsely reported, by the way, because of course it was, that FEMA denied eligibility for assistance, saying this wasn't a national disaster. That's not at all what happened. So for FEMA to have moved in, DeWine would have had to declare a state of emergency.
Right.
Joe Biden called him. They had a conversation. He did not call Joe Biden back, and he did not call a state of emergency. So the national government was unable to do anything. So for the folks that are saying, where was Biden? Where were FEMA? Mike DeWine cock-blocked them, which was a decision that was very frowned upon, not only by Democrats, but also several other Republicans, including Marjorie Greene and Ted Cruz. He basically pissed off everybody, and he would go on television and reporters would ask him, hey, if you were from this area, would you move back into your home? And he said yes. And they asked him, would you drink the water? And he said, well, I would stick to bottled, but we've tested the water. The water's clean. We just saw 4,000 dead fish in the water. And there's a video that I'm going to show you in a minute. There's some real wacky shit happening. And they're saying the air is fine. You're safe if you're anywhere over a mile, because you know that gas, Landon, just stops traveling. I'm 100% safe, Landon, because I'm 17 miles away. I'm not just a mile away, you know, because that gas just stops. There's a fucking wall, you know.
You can see it in space, but it's only going to stay.
I had said this whole time that I was waiting for like Tom Hanks. Remember the South Park movie where the EPA put the dome?
Yes.
I was just waiting for Tom Hanks.
Not South Park.
Yeah. I was just waiting for Tom Hanks to be like, hey guys, there's nothing wrong here. Like me and Rita, we drink the water. There have been no celebrities to talk about this. Now, this is an international incident. There have been several people who are environmentalists from across the world. They are all coming to East Palestine as of now. And
tell me Greta's coming. Where's Greta?
I have not heard anything from Greta, but there have been some other folks who are big in that world. So on February 15th, I would receive this email from a Mike Kelly, Representative Mike Kelly's office. Quote, "Dear neighbor, My team and I are continuing to monitor the latest developments from the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, which occurred on the evening of February 3rd, 2023, near the Ohio-Pennsylvania line. As we learn more information each day, we are also monitoring the potential long-term impacts on air and water quality in western Pennsylvania, particularly in Lawrence County and towns that near the crash site following the controlled burn of hazardous chemicals at the crash site days after the derailment. On February 14th, 2023, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency advised my office that the fire was extinguished on February 8th. The threat of vinyl chloride fire producing phosgene and hydrogen chloride no longer exists. You want to know why, Landon? Because they fucking burnt it and it's already in the sky. Of course the threat's no longer there. The evidence is gone because they lit it on fire and put it into the fucking air. So of course there's no risk. That's like me shooting you, Landon, 12 times and saying, well, there's no more risk of gunfire, and someone asks why, and you say, oh, he ran out of ammo. No shit. Sorry. Everyone, I do apologize for how animated I am. This is home. Like, this for me isn't like some place where I can say, like, oh, only in Ohio. This isn't that. I can't do that. And Landon, I know, I'm sorry. I continue. However, the US EPA will continue 24-hour community air monitoring for other chemicals of concern. What other chemicals? What other concerns? What is happening? We still don't know.
So this time they still haven't told you.
We still have no
what
idea.
The chemicals even are.
As of right now, we still have no idea. Now, like, one second. Like, we know that those were the chemicals, right? We know that it was vinyl chloride. We know that it was something called like butyl acrylate or some shit, ethylhexyl acrylate or some shit, ethanol glycol monobutyl ether. That sounds safe. Those are all words that when I think of, I think nice. That's good to be breathing in. That's just huff it, Ultimate Warrior style. So those are the chemicals, but like what they're saying is, oh, there's no threat. But then they're saying, oh, well, there could be threat. We like that. To me, that sentence there is an admission of guilt. That let's go back. 24-hour community air monitoring for other chemicals of concern. If the chemicals are gone, if the threat's gone, what other chemicals? What other chemicals are the concern? Today, I am writing to you with critical information to keep you, yourself, and your family safe moving forward. Below, you will find some resources for free air and water quality testing in our area. Please continue to check my website for updated information. Norfolk Southern Railroad is offering free air quality sampling and private well water quality testing in Pennsylvania via an independent contractor. Now, no one finds that shady that it's the railroad company paying these people to come test this shit. By the way, several of the lovely representatives Ohio, and you can look this up, this is public record. I don't know the numbers. I will say I don't have the numbers. It is public record that the lovely folks at Norfolk Southern have paid many of the representatives, including the mayor. As a matter of fact, there is a very interesting video of one of their representatives being asked about his, let's call it $15,000 worth of donations from Norfolk. And he said, by the way, he's a Republican, he said, quote, I'm here to support the community. I'm not here to talk politics. The interview's done. I'm walking away. That is how the representatives have been treating the citizens. Like pieces of shit. Because we are all going to die. Because we are breathing in cancerous chemicals. And boy, does it only get better. Because if you think we're slowing down now, Landon, whew, there is a number which I will get to attached where he talks about an assistance center from Norfolk. Many, many, many people have been calling this, and they have been getting no information. There are several reporters have been asking people what is happening. They're told, hey, we're at the bottom. You have to talk to the guys on the hill. Oh, okay. What's the number? They send them this service number. The service number say, oh, well, we can't share this information. Well, why not? You're the railroad company. This was your mess. Why can't you share this? So who are we getting information from? No one. No one is the answer to that question. He goes on to talk about, like I said, the information line, which I will share. I'll share here and then I will share again at the end. The US EPA information hotline is 215 814 2400. That's 215 814 2400. You can follow the EPA air quality monitoring update on this website called response.epa.gov/East Palestine train derailment. So if I go to the website that was shared by Mike Kelly, we're gonna see if we can get a live update here. We're gonna see.
Let's see it.
The last update. Wow, they actually did update. So I will go through all of the updates. So the first update that he had written was the first press release on February 15th. So we are sort of bouncing around now, and I apologize for that. And it's basically the same thing. So it's the same thing he sent. His team, they're watching the developments, the EPA, yada, yada, yada. If your home's water has not been tested and you're having concerns, you can call the EPA. You're advised to drink bottled water until the water is tested to be safe to drink. Well, they're saying the air's safe. They're saying the water's safe. So why am I drinking bottled water? And who's providing said bottled water? Because if I go to the grocery store, I can almost guarantee dollars to donuts there's no fucking bottled water. So where do I get the bottled water? I digress. On February 16th, I participated in the February, I being Mike Kelly, I participated in the February 16th EPA briefing with PA Rep. Stephanie Sicarblia, who's Republican of District 12. We learned that some residents have been presented with documents from Norfolk Southern Railroad during the air and water quality screen process. If you are presented with these documents, we encourage you to thoroughly review them. Our job as your representative in both the state and federal governments is to protect your rights, and we will continue to monitor this issue. Landon, would you care to know what the documents we're talking about?
Yeah, let's see her.
Southern Norfolk offered to give room and board to several people within that mile affected radius. In exchange, they cannot sue.
Of course.
Well, now we're suing. Now we're jumping to suing. So there has to be something if there's a case here and they're trying to hush it up. It had also been reported that they had offered some residents up to $1,000, which for this area, that is a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money. There are several class action lawsuits currently in development. By the way, there was also $25,000 offered for the community as a whole. That would be $5 per resident. So Norfolk, the $13 billion company, whatever they are, I think they made like $3.8 billion last year. They offered you a good $5 locals. They didn't offer me anything because I'm not in the mile blast radius. I'm just in the death zone. They're two different things. Sorry. I digress again. Let's continue. The EPA is still advising residents seeking air and water quality testing to contact Norfolk Southern Railroad, whose independent contractor will provide testing. Additionally, Pennsylvania Governor Ben Shapiro announced that Pennsylvania will begin conducting independent water sampling in the area, notably along the Beaver River. The Beaver River, of course, is what was referred to in that lovely video with all the dead fish. But it's safe. The water's safe. By the way, the air purity test that they released says that we have some of the cleanest air to ever be documented in time. That's how clean the air is. That doesn't sound scary at all. That doesn't sound like a cover up. After all, East Palestine just had a train burn for a week before they did anything. Their response was to light the chemicals on fire into the air. But the air is clean. Perfect, actually. Even though two major cities surround East Palestine, that being Youngstown, Ohio, and Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Random questions. Are you tracking so far?
Yeah. Yeah, so far.
Anyone in the comments? Does anyone have a dispute, a concern, a question? I will happily, if I have an answer.
I've got a few. Do you know where these chemicals were headed? What was their end point?
I could probably find that information out, but I do not have that written down. But I should write that down for future reference.
Do we know that these water, air tests, would they even consider these type of chemicals, or if they're clean or not? You see what I'm saying?
You're asking me this question, Landon. I'm simply a citizen. I'm not allowed to have answers. I only live here. You think they would tell me that? I only live here, Landon. This is only my home. Oh, the water's fine, Landon. What are you talking about? You wouldn't buy the livestock and the livestock that's dying? We'll get to that in a second, though.
Okay.
Continue. Next question?
Yeah,
Next question? Oh, you don't have any more questions? Oh, good. I'm glad. See, I'm answering these questions the same way the politicians have been answering questions, because fuck them. Jay says, this is one of the biggest events in U.S. history, and nobody even is giving a shit about this event. Oh, well, don't you know, Jay, there are presidential diddlers and spybaroons, and that is way more important than, like, 10% of this country's water supply. I mean, let's not talk about the derailment in Detroit, the derailment in South Carolina, the derailment in Texas. Let's not talk about the fact that fucking 20 gallons of gasoline or petroleum or some shit are dumping out into the waters of Oregon. Let's not talk about that. Why would we talk about that? Oh, Jeffrey Epstein. I hope fucking Facebook bans me. If this is the video, I swear to Christ, I challenge anyone to dispute what I'm saying. I challenge anyone. Fucking please.
I bet the answers are on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Oh, there you go. See, that's what I like. See, we'll piss everyone off today. So as February 18th, that's today, I believe. I don't know. It's all run together, you know.
It is.
The chemicals are getting to my brain. My team and I were briefed by the EPA on the afternoon of February 18th, 2023. We were told there are no plans to test private well water outside of the 1 mile radius of the crash site at this time. Boy, that's nice to hear. I'm only in the cancer and death zone, Landon, but man, why would they test my what chemicals that they were burning again? Give me 1 second. Let me pull. There's some hard words, pal. Let me make sure I got them in front of me. 1 second. Sorry, everyone.
And what's up, Ryan? Ryan's from Texas.
Right. Let me vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethylhexyl acrylate, and ethanol glycol monobutyl ether. Probably butchered that, but it's the best that I'm doing, fellas. It's great that Jay says we literally nuked our own country, because there is a by the way, Barstool Sports, of all people, the reason this story got national coverage, Barstool Sports.
Oh, really?
Because they were the first people to talk about the interview that was done with a chemist. And I forget the guy's name. He has sort of a weird name. There is a video, and he is quoted as saying, "We basically nuked a small town in Ohio with chemicals to open a railway." That is what he said, a professional. And what he said is, we will not know the effects of what is happening for 5 to 10 years.
Shit.
I'll be dead. I'm in the death zone, but I'm not within a 1 mile radius, so the air is safe, the water's safe. But I am in the death zone.
Hang on to the end of this, people, and we'll make him pull that video up. We'll do that at the end.
I can probably do that. Could you write a note?
Well, that was my thing. I'm curious what like an actual chemist would think. But y'all right know.
Let me see. I mean, I might be able to pull that up now, Landon, if you can sort of just stall for me.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I'm the conspiracy guy, so I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm like, okay, where's the upside to cause this? I can tell you right now that in a couple of years, this right here is going to be a FOIA frenzy, and it's going to be an interesting one for those people that like to do Freedom of Information Act with the government and get documents. It's gonna
Well, now Atlanta, I'm not within a mile radius, so I don't qualify for even $5. I just die.
Yeah.
Really want to home that in.
live closer.
Oh, I should have fucking just picked up my whole life and moved there. You
You could have got $25,000.
No, I get $5, Landon. What the fuck? What are you
1,000, but you can't sue.
Well, no, but see that was offered by the private, well water people. Which once again, that's not suspicious at all. That's not suspicious at all. Hey, the people that we're paying to test your water and air, they're offering you $1,000 to shut the fuck up. That's not suspicious.
So Jay jumps in. He says this is much worse than Agent Orange, asbestos, etc. And these lawsuits have been going on for 50 plus years with these chemicals.
I don't know if this is the right one, but let's see. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I want to look though. I'm going to look at the what those chemicals are after this.
Yep.
And look into the like safety data sheets of these, because I'd be curious to see what the disposal protocol would be for some of this stuff. Here he goes.
I was kind of surprised that when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
Caggiano says it's possible some of these chemicals could still be present in homes and on objects until you clean them thoroughly.
Oh, there's a lot of what ifs, and we're going to be looking at this thing 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line and wondering, gee, cancer clusters could pop up, well water could go bad.
Caggiano recommends anyone who's in the
I must have missed
acrylate is
we'll just watch the whole goddamn thing. You guys can see
we now know
on the side here.
more chemicals
Sorry.
that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago. And we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency sent a letter to Norfolk Southern stating that ethylene, glycol, monobutyl ether, ethylhexyl, acrylate,
she did worse than me.
Were also in the rail cars that were derailed, breached, or on fire. Caggiano says ethylhexyl acrylate is especially worrisome. He says it's a carcinogen, and contact with it can cause burning and irritation in the skin and eyes. Breathing it in can irritate the nose, throat, and cause coughing and shortness of breath. Isobutylene is also known to cause dizziness and drowsiness when inhaled.
I was kind of surprised that.
Landon, any guesses what some of the symptoms that people have been reporting are?
I don't know, but if I was a crackhead, that's a free way to get high going down there.
Well, I will tell you, the only person more hated than Governor DeWine is Pete Buttigieg, or whatever the fuck you pronounce his name as. Yes, because he has said some not so nice things, and it will cost the Republicans. It will cost. This event will cost them.
What did he say?
I don't have his exact quote. Once again, I can find it. I just know it was one of those things that, like, once again, when your own people are turning on you, it's not good. Give me 1 second.
Where is old Pete out of? He's not out of Ohio, is he?
No, I think he's in Florida. But they just say shit.
I know, they all say some crazy shit. Hey, I got Marjorie Taylor Greene 15 minutes up the road from me, so I'm with the best of them, let me tell you.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. She's against the, oh God, all these places are like anti-ad blocker now. So I'm trying here. So he is the transportation secretary. That is what Buttigieg is.
Oh, that's why.
And so the disaster came just within months after a series of embarrassing air travel issues that snarled plans for millions of Americans and prompting renewed scrutiny of his tenure atop the department. Let's see here. God damn it. Where? Because he said something douchey. I'll find it at some point. I'll if we bring it back. That's the thing. There's so much information, guys, that like I can't possibly have everything prepared at one point in time.
Well, it's ongoing. I mean,
but like that's true. So let's see here. They're talking about Representative Bill Johnson, who's a Republican in Ohio, spoke with Fox News Digital. He says that citizens are concerned, they're fearful and frustrated. They're not getting the answers that they need and want. The rail company Norfolk Southern did not show up at the town hall meeting last night for them to be able to ask that questions. More on that in a minute. They are rightfully concerned. They are concerned about how this happened in the first place. He would go on to praise the EPA. A lot of people upset that Buttigieg didn't show up at all. Like he's just been talking from his
from his office.
Yeah. But I remember he said something that upset people. We'll look into it. But we gotta sort of move it along. So let me pull this back up. So any Pennsylvanians outside the 1 mile radius who are seeking private well water testing are urged to contact Pennsylvania Department of Protection, the DEEP or DEP, for assistance. The number for the Northwest Pennsylvania office, which covers Erie, Crawford, Mercer, Lawrence, Butler, and Venango counties, is 814-332-6945. That's 814-332-6945. So that is all of the information that I have from Representative Mike Kelly. It was reported that a representative, by the way, we're still on the 15th. We are on February 15th. It was reported that a representative from Norfolk Southern was to speak at a town hall meeting in East Palestine, but denied to show up because, quote, "we're afraid for their safety." They were afraid for their safety. A spectator, when this statement was made, would ask, "of us or the chemicals?" Honestly, who knows?
Fair question.
This takes us into February 16th and 17th. The story continues to grow as citizens experience continued headaches, nausea, shortness of breath, irritated eyes, and rashes, to name a few. I myself began to notice a sore throat and dry, itchy eyes. I also had posted my first TikTok on the subject, which to my surprise, people were very positive, but many people had no fucking idea that this had happened. So I originally was not going to do this. I'm not a news correspondent. I'm not a journalist. I wanted to leave it to the professionals, but they weren't talking about how the chemicals were dumped into a trench and lit on fire. They weren't talking about how the citizens are scared and no one's communicating. And I felt that it's almost like, my duty as a citizen is one of you, right, to share my experience. Look, I'm not within a mile radius, but I am within a 20-mile radius. And that is the radius in which they had said is the danger zone. I work 13 miles from East Palestine. And I have family that live right there. I mean, this is very local for me. Our cigar business has been affected by these events. Detours. I mean, it has been hell. And I can't imagine the businesses in East Palestine. There's a video from the town hall meetings, right? They've been having a lot of meetings. And there are a lot of people there just doing random interviews, civilians alike. And one guy sat down and he said, we don't know who to trust. We don't know who to believe. He said, but we know one thing for certain. It just crushed the farmers. It just crushed the businesses. Are you going to want to eat the livestock? Are you going to want to buy the corn? Are you going to want to drink the bottled water? The United States just collapsed an entire community. But it's okay because Norfolk's railroad's up and running. I digress. February 18th. Reports spread of acid rain throughout the East Coast, including Maine, parts of Canada, and parts of the northern United States. As of the time that I had written this, at 4:02 a.m. on the 18th, I had learned that the federal government is stepping in as of now, as it is now considered a state of emergency, only in Ohio. Doesn't do me any good. I'm not within a mile radius. Alan Shaw, the Norfolk Southern CEO, has arrived in town to, quote, support the community. Donald Trump is also said to be visiting the community at some point. It took 2 weeks. For lawmakers and representatives to decide that the people who live here aren't safe. But we're blowing up Russia and shooting balloons out of the sky, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, so fuck it. Does anyone have any more questions, concerns?
Not that I've seen. Not yet.
I do have a video to show you guys, which I think really hones in the point that there's some bullshit being shared to us.
What did that say? I'm sorry, that was so small.
So it was a video, Landon, of this woman dumping her creamer into coffee which she had made, and it sizzled on impact. Does that seem safe, Landon?
Can you play that again?
Let me pull it back up. I exited the screen so it didn't play random shit. Give me one second.
No worries.
I try to do a good job here with this shit.
No, I just couldn't even tell I couldn't even tell what it was at first.
Okay.
Now that I know what I'm looking for.
You give me 1 second. Yeah, Jay's pissed. I mean, you're not the only one. And like I said, there are a lot of people that are saying like, oh, how does this affect me? Guys, look into the waterways. Like, look into if you're affected. So it says here, my milk sizzled when I poured my coffee into it. That's never happened. And you can see that the spot's going to be right at the bottom there. Yeah, I'm sure that's normal. I'm sure that's safe. Final thoughts, I guess. Is there, I mean, I don't think there's anything else left to say as of now. I can try to keep you guys updated if that's something you're interested in. This is sort of, my plan was that this was going to be a one-off, but I couldn't in good conscience just get on here and talk about some bullshit that didn't matter when this is happening right next to me. So,
yeah, it's crazy, dude.
So if there's anything I can urge, Jesus, Landon, what the fuck's happening? You're echoing. If there's anything I can urge you guys to do, it is please stay informed, right? There are a lot of, how far is the fallout? I was just getting into that. There are a lot of maps in which you can sort of see what waterways connect. You can sort of see where there have been inconsistencies with the air. You can also check which direction the wind have been heading. We, of course, in this area have had some extraordinary wind. Will it dissipate over time? As you know, Jay, there's people far more intelligent than I who can answer that question, but it's my understanding as a novice that we won't know for 5 to 10 years what the full scale of this horrific disaster is.
That we
So
did to ourselves.
well, we didn't do it. The fucking community didn't do it to themselves. That the rich people decided,
The government.
Yeah. Well, not even. Fucking the people who pay the government. Because Norfolk just decided to do everything themselves. And, nice regulations, By the way, I don't want to make this political, but these regulations, some of these regulations were signed in by Barack Obama. They were rolled back by Trump and continue to be rolled back by Biden. And these people, you can look up, like I said, it's public information, the representatives who have taken money from Norfolk and Southern. And those are the same people that have been covering up this situation. Those are the same people who have been treating the fearful citizens very poorly. And, these people are my friends. They're my customers. And support to them. Landon, anything you got?
Yeah, I think in due time we'll find out more. And this is a tough one. There's I don't know. I don't even know what to say, honestly. Kind of like every little disaster that happens, it's like, what the hell were we thinking? What was going on there? So,
well, I'll tell you. There is a film called White Noise that is on Netflix that has gained a lot of traction over the last couple days. Because, Landon, the first half of the movie, a chemical spill happens due to a train derailment. Landon, guess what community it takes place in?
No, it doesn't. Does
Landon,
it really right there?
Some of the citizens were extras in the film.
Oh my God.
Now, it's said to be a really shitty movie. And I apologize for being emotional.
It is a terrible movie.
It's said to be a terrible movie, but it takes place in East Palestine. Same event. One of the locals who was in the film said that the first half of the movie, this felt like the first half of the movie. So, there you go. Oh, by the way, some other things that I'd like to point out for those of you who may be more conspiracy savvy. And once again, you can look into all of these things yourself. I forget if it's the CDC or the EPA, 11 days before this incident happened, had updated the information on their website about these chemicals for the first time in 17 years. They changed words like saying, severe to saying could, like instead of will cause severe damage, could cause damage. So you guys can look into that. Don't believe what the politicians are telling you, that the people are fine, that the air is fine, that the water's fine. The people are scared. They don't have answers. And it's not a good time, genuinely. Like I said, you should all stay informed on the waterways and what connects. I will say, if there's any saving grace, other states surrounding, such as West Virginia, have cut off certain water treatment facilities as they don't believe that it's safe. So with that, Landon, do you have final thoughts?
No, nothing for me. I'm interested to see what comes out over the next couple of weeks. I mean, I'm downhill from this.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what all it affects. But like I said, I saw all the pictures of the birds and stuff.
Yeah.
They were just like filling a parking lot, just dead birds everywhere.
There's a video of a man who, I don't know if he breeds foxes or if he just has foxes. His foxes are very sick right now. He broke evacuation protocol and went in to try to get his sick foxes. He was stopped. I mean, they've been arresting reporters. Guys, it has been fucking ground zero down there. But what I'm going to leave you guys with is some important resources. So the EPA information line is 215-888-0500. 215-814-2400. That, once again, the EPA information line is 215-814-2400. I threw this one in there because it's dark times for everybody. The suicide prevention line is now just 988. So, they can get you to talk to a professional. And this one is just because I've seen some deplorable shit coming out of the religious communities. Report any church that is participating in any political activities, including endorsing candidates, to the IRS. It will take away their tax exempt state. So if you see videos of churches, or if you go to a church where they're saying, we need to vote for Ron DeSantis because it's God's way, the number that you can call and report this, and there's a couple different ways. There's faxes, emails, but get in contact with the IRS. Try your best to prove it. It's 877-829-5500. Once again, to report any churches to the IRS. That's 877-829-5500. With that, guys, I hope we did a decent enough job keeping you informed. Everything that I said may have not been super accurate. It's what's being shared. It's what we've been told is true, and I'm sure by tomorrow a lot of this news is going to be outdated. So please, if you'd never heard of this, keep yourself informed and stay safe, guys.
See y'all.